In criminal case number FE 2024-666, count 1, we, the jury on the issue, join in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield, defendant, find the defendant guilty of aggravated murder of Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield as part of the same act or transaction. Case number FE 2024-666, count 4. We, the jury on the issue, joined in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield, defendant, find the defendant guilty of aggravated murder of Joseph Ryan within the same 3-year period during which he did also kill and murder Christine Banfield. In case number FE 2024-666, count 5, we, the jury on the issue, joined in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield, defendant, find the defendant guilty of using a firearm in the commission of a felony. In case number FE 2024-873, count 1, we, the jury on the issue, joined in the case of the Commonwealth of Virginia versus Brendan Robert Banfield, defendant, find the defendant guilty of child endangerment.
Let me bring back in Gary Grumbach here. And Gary, this is a moment that had been watched very closely and was anticipated by so many.
All right, anything further for this matter?
Yeah, this was a charge, aggravated murder, that required the jury to find that he was participated in willful, deliberate, and premeditated murder with a specific intent to kill. So they had to check a lot of boxes there. That's perhaps why it took up to 9 hours of their deliberations to get through that, just to understand exactly what happened in the bedroom of the Banfield residence back in 2024. Banfield did testify in his own defense in this case. Quite rare in such a high-profile murder trial for the defendant to testify. And so perhaps things he said or did not say during that testimony was stuck in the jurors' minds. Certainly the main character in this case testifying is something that's going to be brought into the jury room by all 12 of the jurors. And all about intent here. That's sort of what the idea of whether or not he was going to be found guilty. Was it intent? And was there any reasonable doubt in any of these jurors' minds as to whether or not he actually did it? Something that the prosecutors focused a ton on, especially during closing arguments, was just the amount of evidence that existed in this case, digitally related to some of the social media applications that he had set up in Christine Banfield's name, also a Gmail account that was set up in her name that she did not have access to, and then the physical evidence, the trove of physical evidence from this bedroom, not only the weapons, the 2 firearms and a knife, but also the clothing, of which blood was allegedly swapped on his blood. Joseph Ryan's blood was on her, and her blood was on him. Joseph Ryan, apparently there was some crime scene manipulation, according to prosecutors, where Joseph Ryan had his hands over his chest, and they brought in a doctor on the stand and said that couldn't have possibly happened because Joseph Ryan was shot in the head and in the chest. His hands would not have been able to move over his chest. So some manipulation there. All pieces of information adding on top of each other is how we got to where we got here today. Hallie.
Misty, what in your view, based on obviously your expertise, your career here, do you think may have been the deciding factor for the jury?
So once Banfield testified, he locked himself into a story, and in that story, he locked himself into a timeline. And what the prosecutors did very brilliantly on cross-examination was, instead of setting up a credibility contest between him and the au pair, who do you believe, they used objective evidence, the blood spatter evidence, the medical examiner evidence, to really attack his story as he told it. He locked himself into a timeline that simply was not feasible, that didn't make any sense. And remember, jurors are told, do not leave your common sense at the door. You bring that into the jury room. So when you couple that together, Banfield telling his story, the prosecutors expertly attacking elements that simply do not add up, credibility becomes king, and clearly here the jury did not find Banfield's story credible.
Brendan Banfield found guilty of those counts of aggravated murder. His sentencing will be in early May. We will stay up to date on this story. Gary Grumbach, I know you're going to remain outside courthouse in case of any reaction from any of the attorneys involved. Misty Marris, I know you'll be coming back next hour as well. Thank you both very much.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.